Hey everyone, welcome back to another stream. I'm a software engineer. I've been working in the industry for the last 8 years doing full stack development, and over the last 6 weeks, I've been learning game development using the Godot open source game engine. I've been streaming my progress, building out basically a playground that allows me to test different game features, different game systems, things like that. So maybe one day if I want to actually build a full-fledged game, or maybe this one will turn into a full-fledged game. I have some ideas. TBD, we'll see. But hopefully, by the time I go to build something for real, I'll have all the skills I need to actually do it. And I've learned a lot in the last 6 weeks. It's been a really great journey. There's so much that goes into game development. But as I do at the beginning of every stream, I show off everything that I've built so far. I'm going to kind of do an abridged version today because I want to actually dive in and get some stuff done. Because this demo is getting longer and longer. So if you want to go back and see some of the things that I've worked on, just go check out some of the other streams that I have on both YouTube and Twitch. Well, let's get into it. There's a main menu, continue, new game, load game, exit. There's a whole save system that I built out where you can load and delete saves. Let's jump into a new game here. The basic premise of the game. So it's a top-down view of a player, and as you can see, it's dark for most of the screen. It's nighttime, and you can only see areas where there's light. And so around the player, there's light. I've added recently some lampposts that give off some light. But otherwise, if other things, so whether that be foliage, zombies, NPCs, chests, whatever it may be, if they're not within light, they aren't visible. And so that adds kind of a cool ambiance to the game. But you're basically being chased around by zombies. So they wander aimlessly, and if you get within a certain distance, they will start to follow you. If you shoot your gun or make noise, which right now shooting guns is the only way to do that, they will kind of come to your position. I've built out a chunking system that allows you to move around, saves and loads zombies, saves and loads foliage, chests, whatever things are part of the chunk kind of gets saved in there. Like I mentioned, there's a save system, there's an inventory system. I've added the ability for different weapons and items. Hey, Shadow. Thanks, dude. Yeah, last stream I made some cool changes to the lighting. So it's got a bit better ambiance than it did before. But I'm basically going through my normal start of the stream demo that I do. So I recently added items that have lighting properties. So in this case, a torch lights up more of the screen for the player. The benefit of that is that obviously you can see more, but the downside is it doesn't hit very hard. So there's, trade-offs there, whereas the rifle here will hit quite a bit harder, but you can't see as much. I might add at some point a flashlight that you can attach to weapons in the future, or something like that. But yeah, that's like most of the stuff I've built. There are other things, but I'm not going to get too deep into that. Let's commit all our changes from the last session. I can't remember what the changes were here. Oh, I just did some sizing stuff. So I changed how the trees scales worked. I can't exactly remember why I did that, but how tree scale works. All right, so we've got things looking better. It looks pretty cool now, and I think there's a lot that can be added on top of this. So it's open world essentially. So chunks spawn as you move through the game world. It'll go infinitely northwest, south, and east. And so I want to build some game mechanics around that. And one of those, which I may get to today, may not, is as you progress further out from spawn, enemies get stronger. So one of the things that I want to do is denote now how enemies take damage. So currently they take damage, but the player has no visible way of, one, knowing that they hit a zombie outside of the little animation when there's a bullet splash or a melee weapon hit. So I want to add a way for zombies to progressively show more damage on themselves. And personally, as a like when I'm playing a game, I prefer clever ways of seeing different pieces of information shown. So I don't like being necessarily told where to go, or like shown explicit like damage numbers or like health bars. So I really want to avoid doing that in building this out. And so what that basically means is I think what I'll do is, as the zombie loses health, it'll get progressively more and more like red, something along those lines. And then once it dies, you know, it'll just show the dead zombie. But this will basically allow the player to see visually that the zombie is getting damaged, but it's not as simplistic as having just a health bar that goes over the zombie. So that's one of the first things I want to work on. But even before that, you can see this yellow rectangle here, yellow square. I added that before I did all these lighting changes to make it like really truly dark. And it was basically, and also when I was having a flashlight. So originally the player had a flashlight. Now it's just a point light that is circular out from the player. And this box helped with just telling the player when a zombie was getting close, because if your flashlight was showing left and there was a zombie over to your right, it would be hard to know that they were coming up behind you. But now that you can see in a 360 degree view around the player, it makes it a little bit less necessary to have this. So I'm going to remove this first, then I'm going to do the enemy health stuff, and then if I have time after that, I will add the logic for as you move further away from spawn. Not only do the zombies get more health. Oh, there's a chest here. Not only do the zombies get more health, but they also move a little bit faster and are more plentiful. And then from there, I want to add like possibly some like safe haven chunks further away from spawn that allow you to like interact with NPCs, maybe buy some items, that kind of thing. I want to add gold and money as an item that you can pick up from both chests and zombies. Possibly like a throwable flare that'll help you distract zombies from where you are. And then obviously, I need to add more rewards and maybe some objectives, like there's some items you need to find or whatever. But I'd like the game to be replayable. Like I don't necessarily want it to be like a single playthrough. There's like a whole story campaign. I want it to have some roguelite and roguelike elements to it, but I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to do that yet. So there needs to eventually be some like unlockables and things that you can do in between runs, or even maybe unlock within runs and some stuff carries over or whatnot. So that's all stuff TBD, but let's go ahead and remove Sixth Sense from the player. And I don't think I made this in a way that is easy to just rip out. So I think what I'm gonna do is essentially always have Sixth Sense animation be false. So it still is functioning, but we're never gonna show it. I'm just gonna say reminder, I made this false, so to not show it rather than completely remove from the game. So I don't know, maybe there will be some reason to have this in the future. But for now, I don't really want it. So let's go ahead and find a zombie here, and we should not see the yellow anymore. Good, we don't see the yellow box anymore. It's still functioning under the hood. But that's great. The shadows on the zombie are a little aggressive, so I might adjust that at some point as well, but I'm not going to do that right now. Okay, so we've got Sixth Sense disabled. And I will just commit this so that there's a timestamp on this feature being removed. hid sixth sense from being visible rather than completely removing. All right. So now, like I mentioned, whoops, I want to add the enemy health designation. So I think I'm going to do that just with a canvas modulate. Basically a linear gradient, not a gradient, but just a linear scale. As the enemy gets closer to death, it'll get more and more red. So I think that should be pretty easy to do. So let's come to, we probably want this on all zombies, or, I mean, all enemies. It can probably be an attribute on all enemies. That gets calculated every time they take damage. So we can say base health color modulation. And I guess we can say color.black. And I'll add a to-do here. May want to change this depending on color of enemy. So we can adjust this. I guess ideally you'd do like a scale from and then to. But let's just start this out like this. You can have a getter on it. And a setter. Oops. Great. And so, actually what we're gonna want to do is say, okay, so we're going from, oops, please stop doing that. So we're going from like a black color to red. So the, if you're looking at it from like an RGB perspective, so we'll just start out by saying like red is 0. This actually isn't going to be, hold on a second. Getting a phone call. Okay, so we have red, green, and blue. So really, the green and the blue aren't going to change at all. They're always going to be 0 because we're just adjusting the redness, and it's going to be essentially proportional to how much both damage has been taken as well as health the enemy has. So and it has to do with the starting health specifically. So we might want to add a health, but also like a constant let's see, we want to max health because we need to know how much health the enemy started with. So What we'll do here is add a max health attribute to NPCs. And we don't really want a setter, but what we can do is essentially if you try to set the max health, you can't. It's just going to return. I think that's acceptable to do. And then we'll say the health starts at max health. And then we, on the zombie, we're setting health. Oh no, but we do need a way, sorry, to set the max health initially. So I guess we can just treat this as a, you know, we'll just keep track of it basically. But if we come into zombie here where we're setting self.health, we should also be setting self.max health equal to 20. Great. So now on an enemy, we will say the red shift step is equal to so 255, and we'll call this an integer. So 250, it's 0 to 255 is the range that RGB can be in for colors, or at least in the using the color system in Godot. So we want to say 255 divided by self.max health. So for every 1 health that is removed, we want to adjust the red value by basically damage times this red shift step. So we want to say, let's go ahead and, oops. Let's go ahead and add a getter and a setter here. So we want to say self.red plus equals red shift step times damage. And then we want to modulate. Okay, so we've adjusted that, but then in the zombie, actually, hold on. Let's add a function here to get health color, which will return a color. So we're going to return color with a self.red, self.green, self.blue. And then I think you can pass in an alpha. But I think it should default to 1, which is full color. So then if we come into zombie on take damage, we can say self.modulate equals self.get health color. I actually think we need to say super.get health color. Is that not what I called it? No, I did. Get health color. Not found in base enemy. Okay, I think this is again where we have some weirdness around Godot, like the editor itself isn't like updating the super classes properly. So when we make a change, you have to like refresh everything. There might be a way to do that within the editor, but I haven't figured that out yet. Okay, so we're modulating kind of the base canvas here. So let's give this a try. Let's find ourselves an enemy and then start wailing on them and see if they change color. Yeah, look at that. Wow. I don't know why it's having that effect. Also, it does seem like it isn't getting more red. Okay, so fascinating. Okay, so that changes the entire so we don't want to do self.modulate. We want to do self.sprite.modulate. I think we only want to adjust the color of the zombie when it is alive, not when it's dead. So we spawn a new scene for the dead zombie. So I think we have an issue already with the just the amount that's being shifted. Okay, so that worked. That's pretty close to what we want, but I think the colors here are off. So let's decimal part will be discarded. That's totally fine. So let's go ahead and just print out self.red. Because we want to see if that's fine, but I guess if we want to round, we can also just do that. Integer division decimal part will be discarded. I mean, I don't mind that. Okay, please just... There we go. What did you say? Geometry, what's up, dude? Is GD a geometry dash reference? No, it's not. It's for Godot, GD script. .gd, Godot. All right, so let's print out the red and see what this looks like. All right, so it started at 0. We hit it once. It's already 26, which I think actually should align properly because the torch does 2 damage. And then with 20 health, it's about 13, which makes sense. And then 20. Okay, so thanks, Geometry. Yeah, I made some good progress on the last stream, making it a little more, the ambiance a little cooler, just the vibe of it. Now I'm trying to, yeah, Arc browser's great. Yeah, like I've been using it for the last like 1.5 years. Okay, so that is working properly, but it's making them way more red than I want. So maybe actually the way I'm using color isn't correct here. So let's go back to zombie. It takes a color, hold on, it's in enemy, so Color, I thought it took 0 to 256 or 255. It does. So let me instead update this to only, let's make redshift step just 1 for now and see if it makes it any less red. It just feels like it makes it very red from the first hit, and that's not what I'm looking for. Oh yeah, that's less. Okay, interesting. So it turns very red very quickly. I should. Yeah, by the time it gets to like 20, it's already like very, very red. Why is that? Makes me think that it's not actually 250, 0 to 255. Okay, if I just change this to 255, I'm curious how, like, is it way more red and I'm just underestimating how much redness there is on this scale? That doesn't look that different from the like 20. Also, it's funny that it's like, it's got this weird pattern on them, which I really don't mind. I think it looks pretty cool, but I don't know why that's happening. Okay, so we're just going to leave the redshift step at 1. And just use that. But I am going to leave a comment. Not sure why the scale here is making the red so dark so quickly. Okay. All right, so that looks pretty cool. Let's try it out with a non-melee weapon, so it goes, and just see how it looks when it's a little bit stronger damage. That looks pretty good, honestly. I really don't mind how that looks. So enemies get more red as they hurt, or as they get hurt. It does make me wonder though. Let's add more max health to a zombie real quick and then try it as well. So let's give them max health of like 100. This also reminds me that I need to adjust see, at this point they're just like not getting any more red, so there must be something weird going on with the color that I'm not quite understanding, but I mean, maybe they are getting more red and it's just like not that noticeable after a certain point, but anyway, I think this looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. So let's adjust the zombie health back to 20. Okay, so let's commit this real quick. Added zombies getting more red the more damage they take. And then from here, we can work on adding, making enemies stronger the further from spawn they are, as well as more plentiful. So we want to come into the chunk. There's a lot of prints we can get rid of here now. Great. So when we're loading in zombies, this should be related to the chunk position. There's a value here called chunk position, which is the top left corner of the chunk itself. So you know, I'm just thinking about this modulation piece here again. Maybe there's something I'm not understanding about the Godot color object. No, it is 0 to 1. I don't know why. Oh, color 8, which uses integers from 0 to 255 and doesn't support overbright colors. Okay, so that's why. It's not color, it's color 8 that I'm looking for. Otherwise, I need to adjust it to a like basically 0 to 100 scale. I'm glad I looked at that. So let's go back to this solution. And then instead of doing color, let's do color 8. Could not find type color 8 in the current scope. What do you mean? Okay, let's update it to just a 0 to 1 scale. So these will all be floats. And we don't want this to be rounded. And so instead of this being 255, we want it to be on a scale of 1. And then so now if max health is 20, red shift step is 0.05. If damage is 2, then we're doing you know, increasing it by 1/10 every time. So I think this should actually work more closely to what I was hoping for. So it still takes 10 swings to defeat this zombie, but the color shifting should be slower. Although now it's not even changing color, so clearly docs and my usage of color are off here, because this color is still claiming it's 0 to 255. Oh no, now it says 0 to 1. Maybe I need to set the alpha. Let's actually start a new game, see if we can get a closer zombie here. Yep. Oh. go ahead and save. And we have a chest close by. I think it's changing ever so slightly, but certainly not as much as I would expect it to or hope it would. So we can see if we can figure out what's going on here. So let's print out self.red again, because maybe it's not doing what we're expecting it to. All right, so let's go back to Godot. No, it's 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. That's exactly what we're expecting. So it should be this usage, or of RGB. Maybe it's something about canvas modulate that is expecting something different. What color is this expecting though? Oh, it multiplies the color you chose with the color of the sprite. Maybe that's... Maybe that's... the issue. Okay, is there a, I guess I can apply a shader instead. So this is something that I've never really messed with. So I'll have to dig into that a bit. Thus Steve asks, what are you searching? I'm trying to do a color shift on a zombie when I damage it. So rather than having a health bar on an enemy, I basically want to say when it takes damage, get closer and closer to red in this case. And then once it dies, you know, get rid of the color effectively. What I was originally doing was having a shift. So I was using color with values 0 to 255 for red, green, and blue. It was working, but it was scaling much faster than I would have expected. So if you can see here, it like immediately becomes very red, even though if we look at the red value, it's at 25 and 51. So I'd expect a much duller red rather than, you know, full blown red. So I was trying to figure out why that was happening. And so then I realized that color could be used either with values from 0 to 255 or 0 to 1 as a float. And so I moved it to 0 to 1 as a float, but then it wasn't scaling at all, which I didn't really understand. So I'm just trying to figure out like why the color is acting weird, but I'm also using self.modulate for on the sprite, and so I'm wondering if that's the issue and if I instead want to use a shader, of which I do not know how to use. So that's what I'm looking into now. Godot shader on a sprite. Your first 2D shader. Oh, I've never seen this uniform keyword before. Uniform input is used to pass data into a shader that would be the same across the entire shader. Interesting. So is all this done in a different type of file? Canvas item shaders are used to draw all 2D objects in Godot. Sprite 2D node, you can use any canvas item as long as it is drawing to the canvas. So for this tutorial, use a Sprite 2D, as it's the easiest canvas item to start drawing with. Next, look down in the inspector under the canvas item section, click beside material and select new shader material. Okay, so rather than doing a hard code here, we probably want to do it all in code. Okay, interacting with shaders from code. You can change uniforms from code using this function set shader parameter, which is called on the node's material resource. With a 2D sprite node, the following code can be used to set the blue uniform. Okay, so what we I think can do actually is on all zombie sprites, add a new shader material. In this case, we want a new shader. I think canvas item is what we want. So if we, let's see. Oh, you can do that here? Interesting. Why does that happen here? Okay, let's just see what this looks like now. It might just make the zombies white. No, it doesn't. Okay, that's fine. So let's then adjust our code here. So for, instead of doing self.sprite.modulate and having this get health color function, we are actually going to just grab the red value. So we're going to call this health red shift, I guess. And we don't need blue and green anymore because we're not actually going to be using those. And then we can say self.health red shift. Great, and that's still going to be on the scale of 0 to 1. So if we come back into our zombie here, we should be able to access the shader, I think it was saying with set shader parameter. What is material? How do we access the material? Let's say Godot programmatically create material and shader on, and shader on a sprite. How do you attach a shader to a sprite via script? Okay, so I think, oh, maybe we actually do only need to say self.sprite. Material. Oh no, sorry. Set. What was it? Set material. Whoops, I lost it. That was silly of me. It was this. Set shader parameter. And then we can say red self.health red shift. Let's give that a try. Okay, non-existent function set shader parameter in base sprite 2D. So maybe it's on the material, not the sprite itself, though I don't think this is gonna work either. It does actually, but I don't think the color is changing at all. Didn't look like it was. So let's go back to the shader here. Is there a way to, how do we change any of the properties here? Okay, called for every vertex the material is visible on. Called for every pixel material is visible on. For every light. So can we say like, and now I'm realizing this is probably blocked by my Okay, so first let's actually just remove the material altogether here. So maybe we can we add a shader. Okay. Godot programmatically add material and shader for a sprite 2D. Okay, it almost seems like I should be able to do what I was doing now. With material. So let's add a material back here. Don't know how to get rid of that. So it's not new canvas item material, is it? No. New shader. New shader. And what was the error we got? Or no, we didn't get an error this time. Just nothing happened. Okay. Let's just set the parameter red to 200, see if this does anything. No. Godot set shader property. Okay, changes the value set for the material of a uniform in the shader. Godot first shader. Let's see. Okay, your first 2D shader. Let's go back and just look at all this. Fragment function runs for every pixel, determines what color that pixel should be. Okay, so I mean, this is essentially what we want to do. We just need a way to access this from code. So maybe if we come into, how do I open up the shader again? So can we have like okay, so we have like expected constant, function, uniform, or varying. Oh, okay, so I guess needs to be uniform variable. No? Uniform float. Is this all different? Wow, okay, so this is a completely different language we have going here from GD script called GD shader. So I guess in fragment, we say, what was that? So color equals a vector 4 with red shift 0, 0, and 1. So let's see if this adjusts. Oh wait, no, this isn't gonna adjust anything. Let's make the, okay, it did actually shift that to be black. So let's make this 0.8. So we should see, hopefully, the zombie be red, but no, instead it's just a box now. It's weird. Is it something about it thinking it's like 0 to 255? Nope, still showing black there. Why is this happening? Maybe it's something to do with the uniform float of redshift. So let's say like this is 0.8. Does this make any difference? Oh, that does make a difference. Okay, so there's an issue with uniform float. And again, we don't want it to be on every single pixel. We only want it to be drawn on the sprite itself. So I don't know how you do that. Huh. Change A to match RGB equals your uniform color. I don't know what A is in your example. But basically, I mean, what I'm running into now is that I don't want every pixel of the scene to be lets you have the same alpha of the texture alpha pixel, but RGB will be the texture color. So what, I literally just say texture dot A? No, it's not right. Lets you have the same A equals. I'm not understanding, Shmel. Okay, if I make color.rgb equals your uniform. I think you might be misunderstanding what I'm trying to do. But maybe you aren't. I'm not understanding what you're saying. Okay, so that adjusted the entire... Yeah, so it's the sprite itself, if we look at it, is like a subset of the square that it's in, and the shader's being applied to every pixel, and I don't want it to be applied to every pixel. I just want it to be applied to the color here. So I'm like not totally convinced that a shader is what I want here. I was using modulate before and it was working fine enough, so it's like overwriting the entire texture. And I don't know how GD shader works at all. Curious if like color dot I wonder if I can do something along these lines, like if what are you yelling about? Invalid arguments. I wonder what this does. Because like for a specific pixel, if its color is... Okay, that's interesting. definitely interesting. So maybe if the alpha, okay, so if alpha equals 0, then we just want to return. Using return in the fragment is incorrect. Okay, so if alpha does not equal 0, then we want to shift the color. All right, let's see how this looks. Okay, so that is honestly exactly what I want. But now we need a way to adjust the red value when, okay, so we don't need, I don't think we need redshift. Actually, maybe we do, hold on. So let's make redshift. Okay, let's go back to this. What does a uniform do again? I know, but I don't want the uniform to be the entire RGB. The uniform's just, I'm only shifting the red, not the, so I'm not I need to understand what uniform is, because I'm clearly not understanding what that, uniform input is used to pass data into a shader that will be the same across the entire shader. Use uniforms by defining them at the top of your shader, like so. Okay, so I think if I say color.r equals redshift, then yeah, not just color, but other values. Yeah. This is literally my first time like messing around with shaders, so I'm just trying to wrap my head around it all. So it looks like I can then do, hopefully in zombie, we have red shift, and we can set that to self.health red color is what it's called, or health red shift. Sprite material set shader parameter redshift. All right, let's give this a try. Okay. Yay, it's working. Okay, so that's much more what I wanted it to be. Awesome. Thanks, Shmel. Cool, so that does what I want it to do. That's great. As you damage a zombie, it turns more and more red. So let's just commit this. What did I change in chunk? Oh, I got rid of. Okay. Updated zombies turning red with damage to shader. So that isn't necessarily always gonna work if we change how the we do the sprite or anything. Like the reason why this is working is because the alpha around the, although maybe that's always gonna apply. Either way, regardless, it works. I'm not changing the sprite anytime soon, so we'll leave it as is. Pretty nifty though. Okay. What's next? Oops. Yeah, shaders work per pixel. Yeah. Um, which is pretty cool, and which is why I was able to check if the alpha was 0 or not. And if the alpha wasn't 0, then we want to set the pixel. There might be a better way of doing that, but it it worked. It works for now. Okay, so next up, the further away you get from spawn, enemies should be more plentiful as well as move faster. So let's I'm trying to think. Your way is better that you described above. I'll be changing it later. I'm gonna run into issues. I mean, sure. I don't understand what texture is in this case and why I'm setting texture to texture or what UV is. Like, it's one thing to say, like, this is what you should do, and it's another to explain why it should be done in a particular way. So that's why I'm getting confused, because, like, I know nothing about shaders, and, you know, you've thrown some code at me that if I put into my, like, shader, I guarantee it wouldn't work. Oh, texture is a method to get the texture from the shader? Oh. Gotcha. Well, that's helpful. Thank you. Gotcha. Gotcha. I don't know what UV is either. But that's okay. So vec for text equals texture, and then texture UV. UV is the area of the texture, like in 3D, where the UV wrap images around a text or around a box object. Gotcha. Okay. Why am I setting... I'm not understanding why I'm setting color.a equal to, because isn't A the alpha? I see what you're saying. So, I mean, shouldn't I just be able to do... Wait. Is it like this? But instead of doing texture.r, I do redshift. Equals vec3 RGB. So redshift text.g text.b. RGB is your own colors. Sorry. No, you're good. All right. Does this work the same? Okay, yeah, that actually does seem to be working. Thank you, dude. And thanks for explaining it as well. Cool, yeah, so I'm able to get the texture and then just apply the same alpha. Oh, that's really handy, yeah. Sweet. Thanks, dude. I'm sure with time I'll get better at shaders, but I mean, not only is shader, like, a shader a new concept for me, it's also, you know, I'm using a completely different language here. What language is GD shader? Is it their own, or is it based off of like C# or something? Whoops, GD shader. Shading language. Godot uses shading language similar to GLSL ES 3.0. Most agents are supported. GLSL, the Godot shader migration guide is okay. GLSL. OpenGL shading language. Okay. Gotcha. Yes, OpenGL style, but their own methods per se. Yeah, shaders do seem pretty crazy. It also seems like I know shaders are super performant, but at least that's my understanding. It could be a wrong understanding, but I thought they were super performant. But it feels weird that it iterates over every single texture. I mean, every single pixel per frame. But maybe because it's done on the GPU, it's like super fast. Although I'm actually not sure. I assume shaders are done on... Shaders run on CPU or GPU? Yeah, GPU. Okay. Gotcha. Cool. Hey, you learn something new every day. This is the one I've always been... Yeah. Millions of operations per second. Shaders and like OpenGL in general are... Well, more OpenGL. I've just always been like terrified of diving into it because it feels like such a crazy complex world out there. And I think that's largely why I've stuck with, you know, learning 2D and everything, because I'm not ready to move into the channel called Acerola, which does a lot of shader stuff pretty well. Okay, I'll have to check them out. Thanks for the rec, Don. Thanks for the rec. Okay, so let's adjust some of our chunk logic as we're loading zombies in. Goes over your head completely. Yeah, I'm sure it'll go way over my head as well. Okay, so as we're... So the... these constants here need to adjust with the chunk position. So again, the further away we are from spawn, we're going to increase these. So it's not really the max number of zombies and the min number of zombies. It's the ratio, like the max ratio of zombies. So like we can just say when we're close, you know, within a certain distance, the multiplier is like 1, and then, you know, multiply, like we can just use like a mod to go up from there. So we know that the scale of I think each chunk is like, it's either 2048 pixels by 2048 or 1024 by 1024. I can't remember. Gonna have to remind myself where that is. So it's min ratio and max ratio. I'm setting the chunk position obviously from somewhere. Let's just go ahead and quickly, because we've done this everywhere else. Chunk position equals chunk position. We are setting this in, it's a chunk manager. Oh no, it's in where we have a initialization function called with data. Where does this get called? Yeah, in chunk manager. So get chunk length, just chunk size times tile size. Okay, so it's actually, wait, each chunk, wait, tile size. Oh, no. Okay, so it's whatever 64 times 32 is, which is maybe that's 2048. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. We can so we have self.get chunk length. That's on. Okay, so for now, just say like chunk multiplier equals we can just take the X from the chunk position and then if we just divide it by like chunk manager dot get chunk. Wait, is it get chunk length or get chunk size? What's the difference? So let's get chunk length. So let's just print out what chunk multiplier is here. I think this should be before that we can, or after that we can print out the self.chunk position. So why didn't that? Oh, because we need to start a new game. Okay, so we should take the absolute value. Oh, but it's got to be of the X and Y, not just the X. So it could probably do X plus Y. Or just take the larger of the two. Actually, we can just take the max of, is there a way to get max of self.chunk position.y? Is that right? Float is converted to int and loses precision. That's fine. I guess we can just do max f. Although we want to. No, I don't really care if it loses precision. That's fine. Hey Goat, I'm good. How are you doing? Okay, so let's print out this chunk multiplier again. So we start a new game here. And we need to, again, take the absolute value. Oh, what's wrong? Pound I, oh, whoops. Okay, start a new game. All right. That works. You're doing computer science in school as your GCSE. What's a GCSE? Is that like your major or a minor or a concentration? I assume GCSE is a non-US term because I've never heard of it. Oh, degree in high school, UK. Nice. Nice. What does it entail? Is it like, you know, a certain track? You have to take a certain number of classes and get to a particular level, or how does it work? All right, so we have this chunk multiplier. So we're actually gonna say the range is chunk multiplier times. So we will, and we'll actually say it's +1 so that it's never 0. So we always get zombies spawning everywhere, but we should begin to see far more zombies begin spawning as we get further away here. So we should just see, and I mean, obviously it's pretty dark, so it's hard to tell, but we should just see an insane number of zombies begin spawning as we get further away, which it does look like there are more than 3 zombies spawning per chunk here. So it's based on sets. There's 6 sets. If you're in one, the best, as you go down, it's not good. You're in set 1. Is that like, do you get like placed there based on test scores, or do you start in a specific set and then move up from there? Yeah, okay, so we're getting farther away from spawn here, and we are beginning to see just a ton of zombies, which is kind of fun, actually. Although what will happen here, if I shoot my rifle once, we're gonna see just a million zombies. Look at all these zombies coming towards me here. And if I get hit once, you die. So this actually starts to get kind of fun. So far it's relatively easy to dodge everything, but I assume if we keep going, we're gonna start getting an insane number spawning here. Okay. Yeah, test scores. Gotcha. Is UK, I feel like I've heard this before, but is UK like a country where your test scores kind of like place you for a lot of things, you know, where you go to university and then like what job you get and everything, or is it a little less like tracked in that way? I went to New York University. So yeah, we're starting to see a lot of zombies here. Why are they all a little red? Did I set redshift to not 0 by default? No, it should be 0. Strange. Wait, is this change? Oh no, what? Wait, it's changing it for all of them. Oh, that's funny. Oh, I should have saved. Better GCSE, better college, better A-level. Better university, better degree, better job. Yeah. So UK is that way. I mean, I assume it's still, you're still able, like, if you work hard to, like, you know, move up from your test scores now, right? Because, like, in the US, after a certain point, it doesn't really matter what your test scores were in high school. Like, you know, I wasn't top of my class in high school, and I guess, you know, I'm not like, well, I don't know how that applies to real world. Go to MIT or Oxford. Good luck. They're hard schools to get into, but if you work hard, I believe in you. Okay, how do textures not apply to every object? Godot, or shader. I mean, shader applies. Shader is global. I don't want it to be global. No, I actually only applied to NYU. I did NYU early decision. And that was the only school I applied to and the only school I got into. Okay, it gets global and per instance. Ah, I can do instance uniform floats. Okay, so I don't. Instance uniform float? Probably not. I didn't test high enough, and so no, probably not. All right, so we got a couple zombies coming in here. If I hit one, now it's not changing the color at all. So I think now they do the 1600 scale. When I took it, it was 2400 scale, and I got a 2090, I think. But my math was, I think I got a 790 or an 800 on my math, and then my reading comprehension was like 680, and then my writing was like 600 or something. Godot shader instance uniform per instance shader uniforms. Do I think I could have done any better? I mean, probably if I tried harder. I was never one to study that much. I kind of just like winged everything. So I didn't study that much for the SATs. So I'm sure I could have done better, but like obviously couldn't have done better on math. I basically got a perfect score, but yeah, the reading comprehension and writing, I definitely could have done better. Oh wait, okay, now it's yelling. Uniform instances are not yet implemented for canvas item shader. Wait a sec. That doesn't make sense. So that works, but then instance uniform? That doesn't work? Uniform instances are not yet implemented for canvas item. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, up-to-date instructions on setting up per instance shaders. So instance uniform. Per instance uniforms are only available in spatial shaders. What? Come on. Why doesn't that work? Really? It's annoying. Why does the example say canvas item though? Global uniforms are immensely useful. Of course, before doing this, you need to create the global uniform. That's it. Per instance uniforms, users very often request the ability to tweak a shader per parameter per each 2D or 3D node without having to create a new material each time, which is then very difficult to maintain. To solve this, the instance uniform qualifier has been added. Simply added to a uniform and it takes effect immediately. It's not working for me though. Is this a... they must have changed this since releasing. It does not support textures. It's fine if your mesh uses multiple materials. So I might have to create the material. Global non-constant variables are not supported. Wow, it's a rarity that I have more people watching on Twitch than on YouTube. That's kind of wild. What's up, Twitch? Godot shader instance uniform canvas item. Instance uniforms are not implemented for 2D shaders. I guess it's because the editor isn't aware of per instance uniforms. These were likely designed to be changed via code first and foremost. The issue is that per instance uniforms aren't implemented for use in 2D. Well, yes, we know that. But why? Huh. Okay, so it looks like this is open, but factor all the common code, everything should work identically to the 3D instances now. Okay, so it seems like this is maybe coming soon. Combine texture states by okay. It looks like then we won't be able to do this via shaders. Without maybe creating a different... So is it the shader itself that's the issue? Probably. Or create shader via code. I don't know. Maybe I can, instead of doing redshift like that, no, that's really disappointing. So if we go back to zombie here, let me just see if I can do shader.new. Okay, shader implemented in the Godot shading language. Custom shader saved with the GD. Shader material allows you to write your own custom behavior for an. Okay, but where do I do that in code? Write shader per instance. Oh, click local to scene. Okay, local to scene. This might be crazy. I mean, we'll see if this works. I don't know what it's gonna... Whoops. Okay, yes. We have an issue here. I get it. So uniform. All right, give this a go. And let's actually start a new game. Okay, so we got a couple zombies on screen here. We start damaging this one. It's just that one that changes color, and then we can do the same thing separately. Okay, so that's all we needed to do. Just change it to local to scene. So that's not bad, although I'm curious what the performance implications of that are, but that's okay. So we don't need this shader anymore. Okay, so we have more enemies that spawn further away from spawn. We want them to move faster as you get further away from spawn as well. So we, let's see, on zombie, we set the speed as the default, I believe, for NPCs, which is 4,000. So as we are populating zombies here, so this handles spawning more zombies the further from spawn you are. As we're instantiating the zombie here, we also want to then say zombie dot speed equals zombie dot speed times let's say like 0.1 times the chunk multiplier, I guess. So we can test that out, and obviously we need to do the same for loading zombies in because it's not that's a kind of global thing here. So we'll actually we'll just copy this up top for now, and we'll need to make it more reusable later. But that's okay. Zombie instance dot speed is zombie instance dot speed times. Oh, right, and we don't have chunk multiplier. So we can add a function called get chunk multiplier, which returns an integer. And then we can just return this. And then say self dot get chunk multiplier. Great, and then do the same here. Self dot get chunk multiplier. Okay, so let's give this a try. So we should theoretically see zombies begin to move as fast as the player relatively soon here. Okay, so they're moving very slowly because we did multiplied it by that, when in reality it should be 1.1 times. Yeah. Or no, wait, sorry. 1 plus, wait. One plus. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Oh, which again, we need to adjust. Okay. We'll get that fixed. And again, close use, start a new game. Great, so we should see zombies move at normal speeds here. And then as we get over to new chunks, they begin to move faster. And at some point, they will just start moving faster than the player. So there either needs to be a way to increase the player's speed, or we'll just have to adjust this. Did it start moving slower as it got in sight of the player? I'm wondering if we are doing something weird with the velocity, because it seems to move slower almost when it's in sight of the player. Okay, we're pretty far from... Okay. Part of the issue too is it's, as we're getting the max, or getting the chunk multiplier, it's not the max of position X and Y. It needs to be max of the absolute value of position X and Y. Because as we're going negative there with the X, the Y was staying the same. So that was one issue. So we should start to see faster zombies. And again, more zombies now as we go this way. Okay, so yes, more are beginning to spawn. And it's hard to tell if they're going faster yet. At some point, though, they should go faster than the player. I won't be able to outrun them. I can't tell if they're going faster, actually. They must be. I mean, at this point, they should be going 50% faster. Oh. They must be going faster. So let's just print out zombie speed here as we load in chunks further away. And we need to start a new game. All right, let's go to the, okay, so 4,800, 5,200. So yeah, they are getting faster. And the player speed is what? Oh, it's a different, I've set a different scale, so that doesn't really help out. Okay, well, anyway, it's doing what I want, both from a number of zombies spawned as well as a speed perspective. So I think I'm pretty happy with that. Although let's adjust this to be, so let's say get zombies, get enemy speed multiplier. And this might not apply to every enemy out there, but for now it's okay. So we can say get enemy speed multiplier is that. So it's zombie.speed times self.get enemy speed multiplier. Then we'll do the same up here. Get enemy speed multiplier. All right, cool. Zombies get faster the further away from spawn get. Great. And I think with that, I will been going for almost 2 hours. Where did the last 2 hours go? I think I'm gonna end it here. Thanks everyone for hopping on. Made some more good progress. We're adding kind of some, you know, we've gotten like some good structure and foundation to the game. Now we're just adding ways to make things a little bit more interesting. So soon we'll be adding some objectives and probably like a money system and some like safe chunks, like safe haven zones where you can interact with NPCs and buy things. And so we'll have to add new items and whatnot, as well as adding like a probably experience progression system. And then obviously some objectives, so things to do. So yeah. Thanks for hopping on, everyone. Appreciated the chatting, and I will catch you all in the next one. I will most likely be on tomorrow. So going on, 3 days in a row tomorrow. All right. See you guys.